This video will take you through the installation procedures involved in Solvent Welding Xirtec CPVC. Before we begin, please make note of the following. Following these installation procedures will help you to ensure a quality installation in potable water applications. Before beginning, assemble the proper materials for the job. This includes the appropriate cement, primer, and applicator for the size of piping system to be assembled, tape measure, contrasting color marker, and beveling tool. Joints for Xirtec CPVC potable system should be made using primers and CPVC heavy-bodied medium-setting cements that meet or exceed the requirements of ASTM F656 and ASTM F493, respectively. For estimates of the amount of cement required, consult the tables in the technical manual. In addition to having the necessary tools and products, you will also need to use proper personal protective equipment for the job. This includes a respirator, safety glasses and gloves, and protective clothing. When cutting pipe, it's important to cut the pipe squarely. A square cut provides the surface of the pipe with the maximum bonding area. Pipe can be easily cut with a wheel-type plastic tubing cutter, chop saw, or fine-toothed saw. Do not use reciprocating saws. Tools used to cut pipe must be designed for use with CPVC piping and must be in good condition in accordance with the tool manufacturer's recommendations. If there's any indication of pipe damage or evidence of pipe end cracking, cut off at least 2 inches beyond any visible crack. Use of ratchet cutters is not recommended, as they may split the pipe if not properly used and maintained. After cutting, always remove all burrs and filings from both the inside and outside of the pipe, and bevel the pipe end using a beveling tool. Remove burrs and filings from the inside of the pipe using a knife edge or file. Failure to remove burrs can scrape channels into pre-softened surfaces, create obstructions inside surface walls, or inadvertently plow cement out of the joint during assembly. Using a clean, dry cloth, wipe any dirt and moisture from the fitting socket and the pipe end. Moisture will increase cure times, and dirt and grease can prevent adhesion. Measure the fitting socket depth and mark the outside of the pipe with this dimension, followed by a second mark 1 inch further back. The first line will provide a guide for ensuring enough solvent cement is applied on the pipe. Maintaining a 1 inch distance to the second line once the pipe is inserted into the fitting socket will indicate full and proper insertion of the pipe inside the fitting socket. Before applying primer or solvent cement, test all connections including pipe, fittings, and accessories to confirm a proper interference fit exists. Dry fit contact between properly beveled pipe and fitting sockets is essential in making a good joint. The beveled pipe should easily enter the fitting socket and make contact with the inner fitting socket wall before bottoming out. A proper interference fit is present when the beveled pipe can only be inserted 1/3 to 2/3 of the way into the fitting socket. Ensure the right applicator is being used for the size of pipe or fittings being joined. The applicator size should be equal to half the pipe diameter. It's important that a proper size applicator be used to help ensure that sufficient layers of cement and primer are applied. Using the correct applicator, aggressively work the primer into the fitting socket, keeping the surface and applicator wet until the surface has been softened. More applications may be needed for hard surfaces and cold weather conditions. Re-dip the applicator in primer as required. When the surface is primed, remove any puddles of primer from the socket. Aggressively work the primer onto the end of the pipe to a point 1/2 inch beyond the depth of the fitting socket. A second application of primer in the fitting socket is required, keeping the surface and applicator wet until the surface has been softened. When the surface is primed, remove any puddles of primer from the socket. Thoroughly stir the cement or shake the can before each use. Immediately, and while the surfaces are still wet, using the correct size applicator, aggressively work a heavy, even layer of cement onto the pipe end. The layer should be equal to the depth of the fitting socket. Do not brush it out to a thick paint-type layer, as this will dry too quickly. Aggressively work a medium layer of cement into the fitting socket. Avoid puddling cement in the socket by holding the fitting on an angle. If primer has dried, repeat the two-step primer application previously mentioned. Apply a second, heavy, even layer of cement on the pipe. Apply enough solvent cement to completely fill all the gaps between the pipe and fitting at socket entrance. Without delay, while the cement is still wet, assemble the pipe and fittings. Use sufficient force to ensure that the pipe bottoms in the fitting socket. If cement has dried before assembly, discard pipe end and fitting. Hold the pipe and fitting together for approximately 30 seconds to avoid push-out. If push-out does occur, the joint will need to be replaced. After assembly, a joint should have a ring or bead of cement completely around the juncture of the pipe and fitting. If voids in this ring are present, sufficient cement was not applied and the joint may be defective. With a clean, dry cloth, remove the excess solvent cement from the pipe and fitting socket entrance. This will allow the solvent to evaporate from within the joint and prevent weakening of the pipe. Handle newly assembled joints carefully until initial set has taken place. For initial set and cure times, refer to the average joint set and cure time schedule section of the Xirtec CPVC Potable Water Systems Technical Manual. Installation training is available by contacting IPEX. IPEX recommends that installers attend formal training on solvent cement installation prior to installation of your Xirtec CPVC potable water piping system. For more information, refer to the Xirtec CPVC Potable Water Piping System Technical Manual or contact IPEX directly. You can also visit us at ipexna.com.